We've come up with a method here of coiling and stowing our ropes. We're going to have a little demonstration of how to make these. This is our handy rope coiler that we manufacture for ourselves. Made out of 3/8 rebar. We're going to show you how we make these in the shop. We'll typically put a coat of paint on it to protect it from rust, and this is how we coil and store our ropes. If you're going to have rope and you're going to work on trees, you got to take care of your rope. You can't just throw it in a corner and expect your rope to be okay. You've got to properly stow and maintain your ropes so that they're safe and ready when you need them. We've made some coilers out of steel, and I dare you to break one of these. They're very robust, very strong, and very reliable, and a good way to stow your lines. So we're going to go ahead and measure and cut a couple pieces here and put one together for ourselves. We're going to measure off a couple of pieces here, about 13 inches. Well, if the blade overheats, of course it'll dull it. So we put a little water-soluble oil on there to keep the blade from overheating. So we have our 4 pieces now that we're going to make our rope coiler out of. But I want to deburr these because it's pretty sharp here. That's a fresh cut, and we want to make sure these are really well deburred. We don't want any sharp edges, nothing to snag the rope, nothing to pull any runs in the rope. So we're going to deburr these components. What we're going to do now is bend our U-shaped cradle to hold the rope. So I'm going to go ahead and mark these at 3.5 and 3.5 and bend them. We're just going to use this simple method. We're going to bend this with a big ball peen hammer. There we go. So I'm going to take a little bit of that twist out. So I want it to sit flat. That's jigged pretty well there. Okay, we've got about 2 inches center to center there. Makes for a nice handhold configuration. I've just put a 5-pound weight on here to hold this in position so nothing moves and it stays put for us. And we can go ahead and first tack it, and then we'll burn our welds in. And that'll be a nice, strong structural joint, pretty much indestructible. You could hand this down to your grandchildren. Now we're going to go ahead and run our welds. Of course, this requires the protection of a welding helmet. Again, the safety is a big deal on this. You don't want the arc flash. It can really harm your eyes. This also requires protective gloves for the hands. The helmet has to come down before you initiate the arc to prevent the flash effect. So get in position. We've got to hold very close to our workpiece, and we're going to go ahead and initiate our arc. There's one. Second one. Okay, so it's just a few seconds, you know, each joint. And flip it over. And I'm going to put my weight back on here. I don't want it to move. Okay. Now I'm just going to inspect it real quick and make sure that I've got really good penetration throughout the weld joint there. That's really, really strong. Here's one we've recently welded. We haven't painted it yet. We're going to put some corrosion protection paint on this. Here's another one holding about the same amount of rope. Handy, easy to care for, unbreakable, lasts forever.